Hi guys, this is Mr. Leshin and this is one class, mathematics. So we continue from where we stopped in the last class. We started with statistics. We are coming from the sides of statistics, that is the group data and the group data. These are the two types by which we classify our data. We made mention on the previous classes about on group data. So we started in the previous class and last class about group data, where we laid the foundation about how to prepare a group frequency distribution table, which is a frequency table for what a group data. We talked about the class interval, which is the way by which you group your data. We talk about the class limits, that is the lower class limit and the upper class limit. We talk about the class boundaries, which we get from that is subtracting 0.5 from the lower class limit and adding 0.5 to the what upper class limit. That's how you get your what class boundary. Talk about the class mark, which stands as a median, That is, you add your what, add the lower class limit plus the upper class limit divided by what two. Add the lower class limits to the upper class limits and divided by two, you get your what class mark. I'm going to talk about the cumulative frequency, which is the last thing we talked about. That is how to get your what cumulative frequency. And the first cumulative frequency is also equal to the first frequency of the data, and the last cumulative frequency must be equal to the total frequency of the data provided. So that's where we stopped in the last class, and I believe you understand what we discussed last class, because I gave an assignment. I believe by now you're about to solve your assignment. So this we continue with the group data. Now we look at the measures of central tendency. I calculate your mean, median, and mode for group data, and the range, which is you know that is this difference or the subtraction of the least number frequency from what highest frequency, or the least number from the what highest number. That's how you get your what range is applicable to the what group and the what on group data. But now this is how we go with calculation of the mean, median, and mode for group data. Before we go into that, I would like to share with you the lesson, so I carry you along and talk about the learning objective. So this is it. I tagged it group data too, because it's an extension of what we discussed in the previous class. Here we just looking at how to calculate the mean, median, and mode. So this is our learning objective. At the end of the lesson, students should be able to calculate the mean for a group data. We all know how to calculate the mean for a group data. That is the summation of all the data given divided by the total numbers of data given. That is, we have 1 to 10. That is 1 plus 2 down to 10 divided by the total number, which is 10. And if you are using a frequency distribution table, that is, you get your item represented as x, your frequency as f, and the summation of the product of the frequency to the data divided by the summation of the f. That's how to calculate the mean for on group data, which is applicable to group data too. But we'll look into that as we continue. Calculate the mean for a group data using Axum Main. There's a way you calculate the mean for a group data with an Axum Main, and assuming that is the mean axiomed, which is still in the circle or in the caliber of the data given, still in the calibers of the data given, and also they calculate the median from a frequency distribution table. Already know how to prepare your frequency distribution table for a group data. So we calculate the median, and also the last thing is the mode for a group data from a frequency distribution table. So first to start with the mean. We all know what mean is. That is the sum of all the data divided by the total number of given. The only difference of this from the from your group data is that in preparing the frequency table, you will need to show your class mark. To show your class mark. That is, in such a situation, the class mark of the individual class is used for the X column. That is, you show your class interval, which is X column. Other processes as discussed under our group data are followed. That is, other parameters used in calculation. That is the formula on group data also applies to this. Consider this example. And that is the weight. The following gives the weight of 50 men. Yes, in a sports column, this is the weight of 50 men. But now look at it very well. Using a class interval, unlike on group data, you just pick 64. How many or 64? You prepare a frequency for 64, prepare the 21 individual data given. That's why I say it is always the advantage of group data to on group data. It makes it easier, because taking this data one after the other might be stressful. It's not might, it will be stressful. So you just group the data, and they give us an interval range, and it's 10 to 19, 20 to 19. And obviously, you know that the width of this class is interval is 10. That is 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. That's 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. That is 10. The class width is what? 10. So they said, the question now goes, prepare a frequency table and use it to calculate the mean width. That is, calculate the mean. So you prepare a what? Frequency what table. I told you earlier that the only difference is that you have to add your what? Your class mark, which is the what? The median of the what? Of the classes. Now say it. Now we have what? 10 to 19, 20 to 29, 30 to down to what? 7 to what? 79. Though the highest number there is 72, but you have to follow the what? The interval, which is what? The class width has to be what? 10 difference. So 10 to 19, you can look at the frequency is 6. Let's take it again as we took the class 10 to 19. Look at this, how you calculate it. 40 falls within the range of 10 to 19. Likewise 17 2. Likewise 15 3. Likewise 10 4. Likewise 19 5. And likewise 19 again, which makes it 6. So that's how you do for what? All the classes. That's what you do for all the classes. And look at the class mark. How do you prepare? How do you get your class mark? I told you this is the median. That is the addition of the lower class limit and the upper class limit. Here 10 is the lower class limit and here 19 is the what? Lower class limit. Add the two together divided by 2 will give you what? Class mark. That is 10 plus 19 divided by 2 will give you what? 14.5. You do the same for what? All the classes. Now you multiply. Now this forms your what? The difference. In your individual class, you look at the fx, that is summation of the fx. Now your x now stands as your what? Your class mark. Unlike that of the ungroup data, your x now is your class mark. So you multiply 40.5 times 6 will give you 87. 24.5 times 10 will give you what? 245. 34.5 times 13 will give you this, and goes down to what? 74.5 times 1 will give us 74.5 what? So the formula remains the same as said earlier in the what? In the definition, that is other process as discussed under ungroup data are followed. That is, the formula is the same, which now goes like summation fx, that is the summation of the product of f and x, where x is the class mark and f is the frequency, divided by the what? Summation f. Add the product together will give what? 1865, and the summation of the frequency. Please, I would like you to cross check this. Use your calculator to cross check and affirm that this what data or the information, the numbers are what? Are very, very correct. So the summation of these is what? 1865, and the summation of the frequency is what? 50. To cross check, to confirm the what from the question, that is the following gives the weight of 50 men, that is the 50 is the what? Frequency. So if you divide the all through together, that is summation of fx over summation f will give you what? 37.3 kilogram. 37.3 kilogram. I say you have to have your what? Your class mark, and you can really get your class mark in that what? Group data. So this is how to calculate what? The mean for your what? For your group data. Please take note of this thing. Prepare your frequency table first. Get your what? Class interval, which is the first what? Column. Second column is your x column, which is what? For the class mark. But the what? Class mark, which is the median. Then you prepare your frequency and the product of the what? Frequency and the what? Class mark. Add it together, summation of fx divided by summation f to give you what? 37.3. So we go to the next slide, which is the use of Axum Main, which I said earlier that is a prescribed mean, but which is still in the what? In the caliber of the what? Of the collection of data given. Let's read. When the data that is being considered consists of large items, yes, for group data, it's always what? Large item. A shortcut to make calculation easy can be adopted. This involves the use of Axum Main, yes, which is an arbitrary number. Yes, a number, assumed number from the list of items considered. From the list of items, it doesn't just come outside. It has to be within the range of what are numbers given. So the arithmetic mean is then calculated using Axum Main. Arithmetic mean will now be what? Arithmetic will now be what? The summation of what? The assumed mean plus what? The mean deviation. How do you now calculate the mean deviation? Mean deviation. The mean deviation is represented by what? D, and it's derived by subtracting the what? Axum mean from the what? Item given. Subtracting the what? Axum mean from the what? Item given. You subtract the assumed mean from the what? Item given. That is D. That's how you calculate D. Arithmetic mean equals what? Assumed mean plus mean deviation. Please follow gradually. Where A is the what? Assumed mean, D is the what? Deviation from what? Assumed mean, and F is the frequency. So this is now the formula. A, arithmetic mean equals to what? A plus summation FD, where F is what? Frequency, and D is the deviation. And I told you how to calculate the deviation is what? D, the deviation is what? Subtraction of the what? Assumed mean from the what? Data given, divided by what? Summation F. Please take note of this formula. Arithmetic mean under assumed mean, using assumed mean, question can come in that manner. We have what? A plus what? Summation FD divided by summation F, where F is the frequency and D is what? Deviation. I'll take an example to explain that. Example, the table below shows the mark distribution of 100 students. Yeah, the total frequency is what? 100 in a chemistry student. The table below shows the mark distribution of what? 100 students in a chemistry test. 100 students took the what? The test. Using an Axum Main of 50.5, calculate the mean mark of the distribution. Using an Axum Main of 50.5, here the Axum Main A is given as what? 50.5. Now look at the range. This is the table below. 21 to 30 is what? 22 students. That is the score within the range of 21 to what? 30 marks. 22 students scores within the range of what? 21 to what? 30 marks. 16 students score within the range of 31 to 40. 18 students score within the range of 41 to 50. 9 students score within the range of 51 to 60. And that goes to the what? Last one, which is 12 students scores within the range of what? 81 to 90. So the question says, using an assumed mean, calculate the mean mark of the what distribution. Since you know the formula that is what assumed mean plus mean deviation, that is the mean deviation is given as summation FD, where D is what deviation, that is, and it's calculated as what the item minus what the assumed mean. So it is easy to what just break it down. But first thing first, you have to prepare your what frequency distribution what table. Let's go. This is how you prepare your frequency distribution table under Axum map. You can say arithmetic mean equals to A plus summation FD divided by summation F. F stands as what? Frequency, and D is what? Deviation. So first, class interval. That is, it has been given from the question that class interval ranges from what? 21 to 30 down to 81 to 90. So you follow that first. So this is 21 to 30, 31 to what? 40. And I told you earlier that the class width must be class width, that is the size of the class, must be the same all through what? All through the interval. That is 21 to 30 is what? The class width is what? 10. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. It has to be what? The same for all the classes. And you know how to calculate your class mark, which is what? Difference between what? The summation of the what? Lower class mark plus the lower class limit plus the upper class limit divided by what? 2. That is 21 plus 30 will give you what? 51 divided by 2 will give you what? 25.5. So we take this first. 22 is the frequency of the class of what? 21 to 30. You can see this is the number of students is the frequency. 21 to 30. So you remain, that remains. So deviation is what? How do you now calculate that? The deviation, that is the number minus what the deviation is calculated by the what? The item minus what? Assumed what mean. The assumed mean is given as what? 25. Assumed mean is given as what? 50.5. Look at it. Using an assumed mean of what? 50.5. And the item here, the class mark is given as what? 25.5 for this item, for the first interval is what? 25.5. If you 25.5 minus 50.5, 25.5 minus 50.5 will give you what? Minus 25. 25.5 minus 50.5 will give you what? Minus 25. So from 35, the class mark for what? The second interval is what? That's 1 plus 40 will give you what? 71 divided by 2 will give you what? 35.5 minus what? The assumed mean, 35.5 minus 50.5 will give you what? Minus 15. And this is what we use for the what? Down to the last one, which is what? 85.5 minus 50.5 will what? Give you 30. 75.5 minus what? 50.5 will give you what? 20. That is that's how to calculate what? The deviation. That is the item minus assumed mean. D is gotten by what? The item minus assumed mean. Please take note. D is given as what? The item minus what? The assumed mean. You can see here from the notes. I go back to the notes. The mean deviation is derived by subtracting the what? Assumed mean from the item. The mean deviation is derived by subtracting the what? Assumed mean from the what? Item. Please take note very, very well. So that's how you get your what? D. And you know the formula says A, which is the assumed mean. We've gotten that, plus summation of the product of frequency and the deviation. So you have to find the product of the frequency and deviation, that is 22 times what? 25. Give you the what? Product of the first interval. 16 times minus 15 will give you this for the second interval. Down to the last one, which is 12 times 30 will give you what? 360 for the what? Last interval. So it will now add everything together. Summation is means what? Adding everything together divided by the what? Summation F. We are from the question what? Summation F is what? 100. So A is given as what? 50.5. Summation F is given as what? 100. The addition of summation F D, that is summation of the product of the frequency and the deviation, is what? Minus 115. Minus 115. If you add everything together, you have what? Minus 115. I insert all these parameters into the formula. That is arithmetic mean will have what? 50.5 plus EFD minus summation FD is what? Minus 115 over what? 100. Pick your calculator and solve through. If you solve this 115 divided by 100 will give you what? 1.15, and minus times plus will give you what? Minus. So you have 50 minus to be what? 50 minus 1.15 to be what? 50 minus 1.15. 50 minus 1.15. That is now the answer. 50 minus 1.15 will give you what? 50.5 minus 1.15. Please get your calculator and calculate with me. 50.5 minus 1.15 will give you 49.35. 50 minus 1.15 will give you what? 49.35. 49.35. So that's it. 49.35. So that's how you calculate what arithmetic mean given what an assumed mean. That's how to calculate arithmetic mean given an assumed. Please, I want you to cross-check all this information, all these calculations very, very well to be able to affirm and for you to have the confidence that no, you are following and you understand what we are discussing here. 50.5 is A, which is the assumed mean, and the summation of FD is what? Minus 115 divided by what? 100, which give you what? 1.15. If you minus times plus will give you what? Minus. That's why you have 50.5 minus what? 1.15, which will give you what? 49.35. So that's how to calculate what? The arithmetic mean under what? Given an assumed mean. So we go to the next thing, which is what? The median. So, this is how to calculate what are the median for what? A group data. Read the note. The median from a group frequency distribution table is calculated by forming a frequency table which contains the column for the items. Now, note this for you to calculate your what median for group data, you must have these items in your what in your frequency distribution table. That is the class boundary. Number one thing, you know how to calculate your class boundary. That is subtracting 0.5 from the lower class limits and adding 0.5 to the what upper class limits. Your frequency, yes, and the cumulative what frequency. Everything must be in your frequency distribution table in order to calculate your median. So this is the formula for calculating the median for frequency distribution table. Median equals to what? L1 plus open bracket n minus 2 minus FB bracket C divided by what? F divided by what? F. All these parameters as their meaning. Median, please take note of the formula, which is equals to what? L1 plus n minus 2 minus FB divided by F open bracket what? C. If this is let me take you through the meaning of the parameter. Where L1 is the lower class boundary of the median class. When we say median class, that is, if you look at the frequency, take the whole frequency divided by 2 will give you the median. If you have 50, the median number is what? If you have 50, the median number is what? 25. How do you get that? Is what? 50 divided by what? 2. That's how you get your what? Median class. So the lower class boundary of the what? Median class is what? L1. N from the formula is what? The total frequency. FB is the cumulative frequency before the median class. Cumulative, please take note of all these things very, very well. They are very, very vital in what? Self-conscious under what? The median for what? Group frequency distribution table. FB is the what? Cumulative frequency before the median class. That is, if your median class is the third class, the cumulative frequency of the second class is the what? FB. F is the frequency of the what? Median class, while C is the size or width of the class, that is the interval of the class. So let's take it again from the formula given in the what? In the notes. L1 is the what? Lower class boundary of the median class. N is the what? Total frequency of the what? Of the collection of data. FB is the what? Cumulative frequency of the class before the median class. Of the class, immediate class before the median class. While F is the frequency of the median class and C is the width. So when you have a class interval of what? 10 to 19, the width of the class is what? 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. That is 10 is the what? Is the class width. So let me take an example to explain this very well for you. Look at this example. The table below shows the weight. The table below shows the weight of the distribution, the weight distribution of 40 men in a game. For 40 men, that is the total frequency. The total frequency is what? 40. That is N is what? 40. N is what? 40. Now, what is the median class now? You know, we are asked to calculate the median. So now do you now calculate the median? The median class falls within the range of what? Where the frequency falls with the what? 20. That is 40 divided by 2 will give you what? 20. So you get your median class from there. So you're able to get your what? L1, which is the what? Lower class boundary of the what? Of the median class. And you get your frequency of the median class to be able to insert in the what? In the formula. So let me take you through the solution. So this is the solution. Prepare the frequency distribution table showing the class boundary frequency and what cumulative what frequency. Yeah, we don't really need, you can prepare your class mark, but it's not out of part of the formula, so you really can ignore that. So look at it now. But if you add it to it, it's not a problem. So you can get your class mark from this also, that is this minus this divided by what, this plus this divided by what, 2. So look at it now. We have our first class interval is what? 110 to 118. And we can find out what class, you can first prepare your class interval, but the most important is what? Your class boundary, which is 110 to 118. That is your lower class boundary will now be what? 109.5, that is 110 minus 0.5 to get your lower class boundary, and 118 plus 0.5 to get your what? Upper class boundary. I already explained that, how to get your what? Class boundary. And the frequency for the first one is what? 9. 110 to 118 is what? 9. So the cumulative frequency, I already told you, the cumulative frequency is also equal to the what? First frequency on the what? On the table. Now the next class is what? Class interval is what? 119 to 127, which makes your what? Class boundary to what? 118.5 to what? 127.5, and your what? Frequency is steady. Now the next frequency, the next what? Cumulative frequency will be what? 9 plus 3 to give you what? 12. For the third class, 12 plus 4 to give you what? 16. For the fourth class, 16 plus 5 to give you what? 21. Fifth class, 21 plus 2 to give you 23. Sixth class, 23 plus 5 to give you 28. And the last class, 28 plus 12 to give you 40. That is 40 men in the question. The total frequency must be equal to the last number on the what? Cumulative frequency. I believe you know how to calculate your what? Cumulative frequency very, very well. Now we have prepared our what? Frequency table for the what? For the what? For the collection of data for the question given. This is our cumulative frequency, the frequency which must be there, and the class boundary which must what? Be in the what? Table. Using the formula that is median is that L1 plus N minus 2 minus FB divided by F open bracket up as C, where C is the class width, F is the frequency of the what? Frequency of the median class, N is the total frequency, and L1 is what? Lower class boundary of the what? Median class. And we are given that the total frequency to be what? 40. So now how do you get your what? Median class? So this is how you get, let's go to the solution. This is how you prepare your what? Median class. So this is the solution start from here. This is the frequency table. First thing you prepare to go to what? The median class, which is now saying the median class is derived by the total frequency divided by what? 2. Derived by what? Total frequency divided by 2. And total frequency is what? 40. That is N equals to what? 40 divided by 2, which is what? 28 members. So how do you get the 28 member? You follow the procedure from the frequency 9. 20 does not fall in within 9. Plus 3, the frequency is 12. Here 9 plus 3 is 12. Plus here 12 plus 4 is 16. So from 16 plus 4 is 5 is what? 21. So 28 member falls in the what? In the fourth class. The median falls in the what? In the fourth class, falls within the interval of what? 137 to 145. So that's how you get your what? Median class. That is, you can follow the frequency table after preparing this. 9 plus 3, you can see from the cumulative frequencies, 21, it falls within the what? 20 falls within the what? The fourth class here. So you go about it like that, 28 member. So the 28 member which is found in the fourth class, which is 136.5 to 145.5, which is the median class. Automatically you've gotten your what? Your L1. That is the lower class boundary of the what? A median class, which is 136.5, and the N, which is what? 40. FB, the frequency before the median class. Cumulative frequency before the median class, which is what? This is the median class. The cumulative frequency of the median class is what? 21. The cumulative frequency before the median class, FB, is what? 16. So you get a what? FB is what? 16. And the frequency of the what? Median class is what? The median class is what? 21. Is what? The fourth class, the frequency is what? 5. And the width is what? C is what? 9. That is, the width of the class is now what? 9. That is 136.5, 145.5, 136.5 to 145.5. You get what? The median class of what? 9. So insert everything. Insert the parameters. Insert the parameters. You get a what? 143.7 kg. 143.7 kg. 146.7 kg. I give you a minute to go through it again, please. Glance through this thing. I give you a minute. So this is how you go through calculating it. So please cross-check it very, very well to be able to what? Get everything right. You can go through it again, follow the formula, and apply everything ideally. Apply it ideally, so you get your what? Answer. So we'll go to the next thing, which is the mode, which is what? The mode, which is the mode. You get the what? The mode. For a group frequency distribution, the modal class is calculated by preparing the frequency table, which will contain the class boundary and their frequency. The formula below is then used for the modal item. For you to calculate the mode, this is the formula applied to it. Unlike the median, we have what? L1 plus open bracket n minus 2 minus fb divided by f open bracket c. So this is one formula for calculating the mode. Unlike on group data, that is mode is the number that appears most. So under group data is the formula to apply to it. Unlike on group data, the highest class with what highest frequency is what? The mode. So under mode, we have what? L1, which is the lower class boundary of the modal class. With the modal class is the what? The class with the highest frequency. Fx, that is the Fx is the difference between the frequency of the modal class and the class before it, while Fy is the what difference between the frequency of the modal class and the class after it, where C is the what? Class width or interval of the what? Of the modal class, interval of the mod. So this is very, very simple. It's just for you to know the formula and what apply to it. L1 plus what? Fx. Fx is the what? Difference between the frequency of the modal class minus the class before it. And Fy is what? Frequency of the modal class minus what? Class after it. So you'll be able to get all these parameters very, very well from the what? Any question given. Where C is the interval of the what? Of the class. So let's go. Look at the example. The frequency distribution of the weight of 100 participants. Frequency is what? 100. And in a women conference, what you need to do is that prepare your cumulative frequency, prepare your frequency distribution table. But here we don't need the cumulative frequency from the formula given. We need the what? Frequency and the what? Class boundary. So here we have what? 40 to 49, which are the class interval, down to 100 to 109, and these are their frequency. So calculate the modal weight of the what? Of the women. Unlike preparing our median class, whereby you have to divide the total frequency divided by 2 to get the median class. Here the class with the highest frequency is the what? The modal class, which falls in the what? In the fourth class also. 30 is the what? Highest frequency there. So the what? It falls within the what? The fourth class. So we look at it. Class boundary is what? Minus 0.5, and what? Upper class boundary what? 0.5. Here is what? From what? 40 to what? 49 is the what? Is the class interval 40 to 49. So we have what? Class boundary minus 39.5 to what? 49.5. That is subtracting the lower class interval by what? 0.5 and adding the what? Upper class limits by what? 0.5. You get what? Class boundaries, and their frequency is like this of each class. So this is the what? The class with the what? Highest frequency, which is the what? The modal class. And the formula says L1 plus what? Fx over Fx plus y bracket C, where L1 is the what? Lower class boundary of the what? Modal class, which is what? 69.5, and Fx is what? The frequency of the modal class minus the frequency of the class before it. Fy is what? Frequency of the what? Modal class minus what? The frequency of the class after it, and the C is what? Difference between the what? Interval. So the C is what? 10. That is the class interval is what? 10. L1 is 69.5. Fx is what? 30 minus 20 from the question here. 30 minus 22. And Fy is what? 30 minus what? 17. So C is what? 79.5 minus 69.5 to give what? 10, which is what? Class interval. Class what? Interval. So apply the formula L1 plus Fx plus open bracket Fx plus Fy to give what? C, which will now give what? 69.5 plus 8 plus what? 8 divided by 8 plus 13 to give you what? 10. Solving through, please, I would like you to solve all this through to give you what? 73 plus what? 7. 73.3 kilogram. That is the what? That is 73.3 kg is the what? The mode of the what? Of the group data from the question given. So this is how to calculate the median, the mode, and all these parameters like that. From this question, I think I should go through this question again for you. With you, the interval here should be what? Should be 10. The interval of this class is what? 10, which should now affect the answer. The interval of this class should be what? 10. And if you are going following it very, very well, you know the interval is what? 10 of the class boundary, and that will be 20 minus 6. So let's solve again together. 40 minus 2 is what? 20. 20 minus 16 is 4. 4 divided by 5. 4 divided by 5 will give you 0.8 times 8 times 10 will give you what? 0.8 times 10 will give you what? 8. So 8 plus 136.5 will give you what? 144.5. 1.4.5. So I went back to the what to median class to correct that. So C there is what 10, the class interval. The class width is what 10 for this class. It's 10. So you have to take note of all these things very, very well. I like the way we are solving together now. I believe you are following all these steps very, very well. So I recap how to calculate the mean. It has the same parameters as that of the what of the follows the same principle as that of the what on group data, but the difference is that you have to involve your class mark, which will now give you that. You know, the formula is what summation fx over what summation f. You have to what find your class mark, which will now represent what x, which we now find which will multiply with what f to give what summation fx over what summation f. The median is given as what the formula is given as what L1 plus n over 2 minus fb divided by what f over what open bracket c. That's L1 plus n over 2 minus fb open bracket c divided by what total divided by what f, where L1 is the lower class boundary of the what median class, n is the total frequency, fb is the what cumulative frequency of the class before the what median class, and c is the what class width, and the what f is the what frequency of the median class. That's why we solve this example like that. These are the parameters, and we give an example and solve through. You can see the correction we made here is what the class width, which is what which will now be what 145.5 minus 136 point what that will give what 136.5, 137.5, 138.5, 139.5, 139.5, 140.5, 141.5, 140, down to what that it give what the class about what 10. So the modal score is also the same thing, which is what L1 plus what fx over x fx plus y open bracket c. So these are the parameters by which you can solve what the mean, median, and mode of what class interval. So we've come to the end of the class, this measure of center tendency. We continue still with statistics in the next class, which will be about the graph. We talk about bar charts, pie chart, and histogram. So these are the things we'll be looking at in the next class. So go to your online note. Attached to this note is an assignment. So with this explanation and the note online, you'll be able to solve all the assignments. Please don't stop there and get your textbook and solve further questions. Thank you and have a nice day.